Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of the Mavpuckcast with Jason
And Jon.
Thanks for tuning in. So, Jon, this week, get us started with our new segment, we'll say, a new thing for all of our fans out there, all listeners and stuff.
Absolutely. We're going to have our drink of the week. And this is brought to us by our follower, Whiskey Dave, on Twitter. So he wanted to know what we were drinking, so we thought we would oblige.
So now every week we're going to talk about what we're drinking this week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you kick us off? What are you drinking today, Jon?
I am drinking the sparkling water, clearly Canadian, which many of you might remember from the 1990s. And then the drink kind of disappeared for a while. And so a couple years ago, Bridget donated to an Indiegogo campaign to bring it back. And there were some snafus in getting our supply. You know, there was an issue with the bottler. Well, finally, we got our supply in the mail from UPS of our Clearly Canadian. Well, now it's back in specialty stores like World Market. I think World Market might be the only one. So, absolutely, we're very excited to have it back. And I'm not an alcohol drinker, so I thought this would be probably about as much fun as you're going to get from me. But we'll see as the episodes go on and how the season goes.
Well, and since you're not an alcohol drinking, I figured I needed to make up for it. So I have a double shot of Canadian Club and Diet Coke. So
yeah,
cheers.
our Canadian theme, right?
We definitely went north of the border with our theme tonight. So
well, yeah,
everyone needs to tune in next week to find out what we're drinking next week.
Yeah, you've got the grown up beverage there. I've got the I've got.
But the question really is did it age well?
Did it? Well,
it's like a fine wine. Like, was 2012 a good year?
I gotta tell you, Clearly Canadian, especially like the wild cherry Clearly Canadian, has a nice kind of burn as it goes down. So, absolutely, the carbonation is great on this stuff. So I'm totally down with this. I'm a big clear pop and water drinker. So how about you? Is that gonna take off the edge as we do the podcast?
Yeah, you want to listen all the way to the end because it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, depending on how long this goes and how many sips of that you have.
I am almost halfway done, so.
Okay, well this will get interesting. So
next time I should probably hold off just a little bit longer before I start.
So apparently, if things go south, I'm the designated podcaster then.
Yeah. So I guess we should get serious. Start talking about the tragedy that was the Notre Dame series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's probably why you've had half of that to drink. That was a rough series. I mean, we've seen some rough games, but that was, it's the second series of the season. But that Notre Dame doubleheader this weekend was a tough one.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And like we said, talking kind of prep for this and stuff, I really feel, unfortunately, it started about the second period of last Friday with Union. This team's kind of been struggling maybe a little bit for an identity, and I think that when you bring in the number 2 team in the country, which I am fairly certain saying will be the number 1 team in the country on Monday when new polls come out, that it's shining a spotlight on every problem that you have in your game, and it did for us.
Oh yeah, there are definitely some glaring problems with the team right now. Like I said, it's early, but we've 10 seniors, 6 juniors. They may or may not be superstars, but this is a team that should be able to compete, considering these guys have NCHC experience. They should be able to compete with everybody, whether or not they win. This should be a competitive team. And there were moments this weekend where they just did not look like a team that was mentally ready to compete against the top level of NCAA hockey.
And on the flip side of that, though, there were moments where we saw the potential for the Mavericks. We saw what they could do and what they could become.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think UNO has always kind of sort of been a little bit of a streaky team. They're one of those teams that if they can score early, a lot of times that's all it takes, and they're fine. If they can score the first goal or the first 2 goals, then they're ready to go, even if it becomes a shootout.
Yeah, they do play well with the lead, which you talked about it in prep too, and I want to make sure we bring it up about the Notre Dame game on Saturday. Like, I really think that the turning point for UNO was when the second goal got overturned, because we
Or
were
was that
skating
Friday?
well in a 1-1 game.
Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
It was.
We were skating well, and then it's like we got a goal. Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, the fans rejoice.
Offside. And I mean, I went back and watched it. I don't know. I hate to say it, but it was offsides. I mean, it was close, but it was.
Yeah, we could see that.
enough,
Yeah, we could
offsides.
see that from 2:16. It was offsides. But what was weird about it was that was at such an early point in the game, and it really kind of shifted the momentum then for the rest of the weekend. And you hate to see that with a team, especially a team with so many upperclassmen, mentally becoming undone on that. And maybe that, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it seemed like that was really the turning point, and they just weren't the same team the rest of the game after that.
Right. Yeah. I think the other thing that I noticed from the Notre Dame series was the problems that I saw with the team in the Union series still seem to be the problems with the team here in the Notre Dame series. The communication factor, even sitting up where we sat on Friday, I could hear Olsen, directing players. I mean, obviously he's yelling, because if I can hear him all the way up there, I mean, he's not
right. If we can hear him in our
like
perch
this.
up there, yeah,
right. He's given some but the guys respond to that, and I liked seeing that from him. I like to see that leadership
absolutely
on his part, to say, like, I feel comfortable enough with the guys that are around me to say, you need to go here, you need to take this guy, you need to do this, right? I didn't hear that as much on Saturday, but Friday, Saturday, both games, to a T, every shift, I heard Notre Dame players yelling, I've got this guy, you take 12. I mean, they knew who was responsible for what and where. And I think that speaks to, we talk about their system, we talk about how disciplined they are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Mike Gabinet talked about that in the press conference on Tuesday. He talks about what a structured system they run, how they don't give up a lot in the defensive zone. And you definitely could see that this weekend. And, obviously UNO has had a penchant for playing a more freewheeling improvisation style of hockey. But it was, pretty fascinating to watch this weekend and watch how Jeff Jackson's team, played and responded, and how they caused us a lot of problems and, picked players' pockets, got shorthanded opportunities. I mean,
yeah. And I know, talking to a few people off podcast, that, kind of wanted to throw Evan under the bus on Friday, and I really don't feel, I mean, when you face 41 shots, you're going to give up a few. And I thought he played out of his mind on Friday. I thought he
played well too.
He doesn't deserve.
No, he doesn't. Look, it's like our friend Connor Willingham said on Twitter. They need to play a full 60 minutes to beat a team like Notre Dame.
And with that said, I think we had a better second period both weekends than we've had against Union, even against in the exhibition game against Manitoba. I thought our second period seemed a little flat.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell when you're playing, a team of that talent level, but especially Saturday, I thought we put in a better effort, I think, in the second period than we had previously. But
yeah, and they, they didn't give up in the third either, because that kind of mountain to climb, it would have been very easy to do that. But again, then people could use the argument, well, did Notre Dame let off the gas at that point? It's,
well, maybe, but I would argue more so that Gabinet did something I thought was very smart, in that he gave his freshmen and sophomores more playing time in that third period.
Right.
And I think there's two things that does for us. One, those are usually high energy guys. I mean, they're guys that know that there are other guys on the bench or in shirts and ties.
Right, and they're in a position where they need to prove themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So the score doesn't matter, basically, to them.
Right.
Like, I need to play and prove to coach that I deserve playing time, and that's really how you're going to get it. And I thought that Connolly came through. I saw him, a lot more. Primu, I thought I personally feel like he was our best player on Saturday.
Yeah, Chase Primo looked good, and he got his first goal as a Maverick. Yeah.
And it was a good goal. It wasn't like some it glanced off my butt and into the goal or anything like that. Like it was a good goal.
That's awesome for him. He was a player that you and I liked after the exhibition.
Yeah.
It's cool. His dad was Keith Primo. I'm glad that was tough circumstances to get your first goal, but I think he's going to be really good for the team.
Absolutely.
This year. But yeah, it's ultimately, like we said, it's the upperclassmen, and for whatever reason and you had talked about too in the first podcast about chemistry with the team, and I don't know if they have a lot of chemistry right now.
You can see that in our passes. The number of passes that were
it's the puck handling is not, no, and we are not seeing tape to tape passes.
Yeah. And a former coach to a current coach kind of thing, I'd be like, man, if that was my team, it would be passing drills every day.
Well,
everything would be passing.
Yeah,
because they need to find a way to find each other in stride so that we're not ruining our breakout or transition game. We're not, we had some power plays that
it kills your power plays. Yeah,
it split the seam. It was the perfect chance for you, but it was out of the reach, and he has to play the puck off the boards, or
you saw
misses it, and now it's out of the zone, and now we have to re-entry, and you
saw as well as I did that the Notre Dame players took advantage of that all weekend.
Oh yeah,
and that's a team that's, they're going to be good. We were talking about before the show. How many? 4 seniors on? That's it. And obviously those guys were the big impact players, but wow, the upperclassmen for that team. It was
right.
Again, it's one of those things that I remember during I think it was the first or second intermission Saturday, my friend Kent Cesar asked, he's like, do you think this will be the best team that we see in the building all season? I said, well, I think it's a little too early to say that. And I said, it's hard to know whether they are that good or whether we had a factor and kind of made them look that good. But that was a top-notch team that we saw this weekend. And so, it was a bitter pill to swallow for sure as a fan, and I'm sure it was tough on the players and the coaches too.
And I would say to him, I think that is the best team that we're going to see. I think that's about the best team anyone's going to see. They played, really well. That said, that doesn't mean that I think they're going to win the whole thing, because
no,
I can see NCHC teams coming in the second half of the season.
They struggled against Mercyhurst last. They struggled against Mercyhurst last week.
Yeah.
Right.
But I watched. I can't say I watched the game. I watched clips and stuff from that game, and what I saw from that game, it was more of self-inflicted wounds. It was Notre Dame not playing like Notre Dame. It was not. Mercyhurst playing like outside their mind.
They had it together for us though, and we didn't.
But here's the thing: is we go to all the listeners out there, go back and listen to the first podcast. This is college hockey is any team, any night.
Absolutely.
That's
what makes it so great. That's what makes it so great in the tournament at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Any team can beat any other team.
Here's where the advantage might be for UNO. Like, we just got our butts handed to us by Notre Dame.
Right.
We've seen one of the best teams in the league. So we know what it takes to be a number 2 team in the country.
Absolutely. And we have an opportunity here. The next 4 series, we get Arizona State twice. Mm-hmm. We've got a Western for a series in Kalamazoo, and we've got Miami here for a series. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to win, minimum 4 or 5 games against those.
And not just win, but it's an opportunity to better yourselves,
figure out some of your line combinations that work and
develop
don't work.
Some chemistry.
Yep.
And you can go into the next half of the season and
have a little bit of momentum. Yeah.
You could come in a really strong team. I've seen this happen, in some of these, in college football, some of these, mid-market, like Mountain West.
Yeah, the Mid-America Conference. Yeah, the MAC teams.
And their start of the season is like, you get Georgia and you get Alabama and you get all these like great teams, and you lose and you start the season like 0-4, and then you go in and you go undefeated in your conference.
Yep.
Not necessarily because you were picked to be the best team in the conference, but because you've seen what it takes to be at that level, and you've been at the bottom, and you've tuned yourself basically.
Yeah, you've faced live fire as a team, and you've made it through. And that's That's what I hope happens for UNO here,
Yeah.
because they've got an opportunity here the next few weeks to get
Yeah.
better and to kind of solidify things. But it was a tough one because some of the fundamental things that you look for in a Maverick team just weren't there, and I'm sure that Mike Gabinette's scratching his head.
I think he knows. I think he knows what the problem is.
Yeah.
I think what he's scratching at is like, okay, what's the best way to
Yeah, what do I
solve the
do? What do
problem?
what do I do to get these guys to do what we need them
We
to
need him
do?
to. Yeah.
And I don't know, it's not an envious position. I wouldn't want to try and figure that out, but
It's tough.
and
But
it's tough, especially with your veteran players, because they've been around a long time. So how do you motivate guys who've been playing hockey, years and have been playing college hockey for years and have been playing at this level for years? How do you get them to do the things that they need to do?
right. I remember talking to Gwazdecki back in DU when I was back there and asking him about what it takes to be a head coach and what it's like to be a head coach at a D1 level. And I remember distinctly one of the things he said to me was that head coaching at that level has more to do with how you get the best out of your best players than it does about the X's and O's, and like the
Right.
smartest guy isn't necessarily the best head coach.
Right.
And so
How do you
if
get those
Gabnet
guys
wants to be a
perform?
head coach,
Yeah.
this is where he proves it. He proves it by coming through and getting the most out of these players, more so than like, oh, let's switch our system up from two-wing lock to a center lock.
Yeah, and exactly. And a lot's changed in the last 10 to 15 years. You'll hear coaches say, for example, that, sometimes you have to, as much as you're coaching the team, in
Right.
some instances, you're coaching these players individually. This
Oh,
guy
yeah.
you have to coach differently than this other player. And that's a,
This guy needs this versus that guy needs
Right.
that type of situation, right?
and so
Yeah,
it's
good
dealing
point.
with that subtlety and nuance. And,
Right.
and it'll be interesting to see, what happens in that regard going forward this season and whether the team responds. The NCHC, I think, is a conference they can compete in this year. I think they've got the upperclassmen and the experience to do that, but it raised a few question marks this weekend against Notre Dame. So
Yeah. So licked our wounds enough there. I think we need to talk a little bit about like the real stuff that went down in the Notre Dame series, which is
yeah,
I had to wear my beer wristband on my right hand wrist, and they absolutely would not put it on my left hand wrist for some reason.
wow.
I don't know at what point we moved Baxter to like Nazi Germany or anything, but what the heck, dude?
Yeah, well,
Like,
no,
what does it matter which wrist I wear my band on?
So wait, let me ask you this: which hand do you hold your beer in typically?
That would depend on which side of me my daughter is sitting, because I typically just try to keep it away
Oh,
from her.
right, all right, yeah, you've got the whole armrest thing.
I
mean,
just feel, not that she's gonna drink it or anything. Don't like report us or anything. I just feel better about it being on the opposite side.
trying to put logic to some of the decisions that they make as an arena is, an act in futility. But I mean, are they thinking that most people hold it in their right hand so you can see that they have a wristband if they're holding? Not that you can buy a beer without a wristband, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm left-handed, so I wear my watch. I wear my Apple Watch on my right wrist.
Okay.
Mainly because when I write with my left hand, I don't like to have the watch there. And a lot of times people who are right-handed wear it on their left hand. But what does it matter what wrist your beer band
Bracelet
is on?
right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Kevin and I were, like, my friend Kevin Treves and I were standing in line getting our beers, and we're just like flabbergasted. It was like, she would not, and she even told us, she's like, no, they tell me I have to put it on your right hand. I'm like, why? And so we're standing there, and I'm thinking, like, now I'm like hyper aware of everything that goes on, right? Like,
Yes,
now my
absolutely.
senses have been tuned, and
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here going, but wait a minute, like, I hand him my credit card with my left hand.
Yes.
Like, if you put it on my left hand, when I handed him my credit
Yeah,
card,
my
he
hand
would
is
have
already
seen that I had
out.
my
Yeah, it would have
bracelet.
saved time.
Right.
Sure.
Because my jersey's pretty long. I mean, you don't see my bracelet underneath the. Even when I take a drink, you don't see my bracelet underneath the jersey.
Yeah, I mean, do they have like, Beer Band Academy at Baxter Arena? Do they have a training session where they train these folks, and now you want to put the wrist on, the person's right hand?
And make sure it's the right, because
Yes.
Do they get fired if they put it on the left? I mean, I know
And
they're not getting paid or anything.
Oh, yeah. And there's probably some, you have to tighten it a certain amount. Otherwise, they can get it off their hand and give it to a minor. And we don't want that to happen.
And you
at a
better
game.
as heck make sure that you get some hair from the guys in there so that when they rip it off, they go...
Yeah, exactly right. They have the, Band-Aid thing that we as guys deal with when you just rip it. Yeah, I don't know, but... That's kind of an interesting. I mean, have you run into that before at all at a UNO?
Never. I'm like
not downtown
I've never
at all.
Stood there going, wait a minute, you care which arm I gave you? Yeah, that's totally new to me.
This is the new and improved Baxter Arena this season, man. I'll tell you, we
got to
follow protocol.
That improvement. We also have the quota for hot dogs.
Yeah, one of our followers and the name escapes me, but one of our followers on Twitter was tweeting at Baxter Arena last night, and they said that they waited in line for 10 minutes to get a hot dog, and the concession stand ran out of hot dogs in the middle of the first intermission last night. And this is interesting because...
And this was on Saturday night.
Yes, this was on Saturday night. They had been talking all week about how tickets were scarce for this series, so you needed to try to get your tickets if you could. Give away tickets to a friend. I mean, they were talking in the Mavpuck, so they knew there were going to be a lot of people there, but they ran out of... And hot dogs are, I mean, that's kind of a staple of stadium and arena sports food.
I'm willing to bet that they sell more hot dogs than anything else, right?
I would imagine. Especially
since they don't have the stand that serves the really nice barbecue that they used to have.
No, wait.
I don't know what the heck happened
to
that.
My dad
and I were back. Bring that back.
Isn't that like... I saw that. We walked by that. My dad's like, hey, I saw this barbecue thing when I was walking around. You want to go get something? I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. We go there. There's nobody there. And it says like open in November.
But they used to have this place that had, you got these little pork sliders. I think
you told me, but you were telling me about that.
I love those things. Every time we ate at the rink, that was my thing. Like everyone's like, where are you going to go? I'm going there. Because you got that and you got those really nice like crispy fried kettle chips and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I love the kettle chips are great, yeah.
No, and then they went away, and I'm like, where did they go? I walked around the whole rink on Friday going, where am I going to eat? I want to eat at this place. No, and then I finally found that place and went, oh, they've changed it because obviously the menu was
it's a different venue. It's a different vendor, isn't it, than they had before?
It's definitely a different vendor because it was I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was a name I recognized.
Okay.
Which it didn't used to be. It just used to be like Maverick.
Like Maverick barbecue or some generic thing like that.
Yeah, you made that up.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So
yeah, and then the other thing was weird is like, I don't know, they moved a lot of those little like food fair stand things because the burrito bowl place, those things are pretty good too. But I didn't find those until we got all the way around the rink and I finally found them. And they were kind of tucked into a corner.
It's where that concession stand is, kind of by the club lounge over in that. Is that the north?
Yeah, on the west side of the club lounge.
West, yeah.
Over by where you can get the tater tots and stuff.
Okay.
That stand, there's a stand there.
Is there a tater tot stand?
And stuff, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They top it with like...
I don't get over... The only reason
I know we don't get over there. Like, that's the opposite
I
of
was
the ring.
over in that arena.
We don't go over there.
I walked by there four times last night because I was trying to close the exercise ring on my Apple Watch because I hadn't done it earlier in the day. So I saw a lot of the arena last night that I don't normally. I'm sitting up in 216 tweeting during intermission, and
everyone pictured John jogging through the concourse.
It was I would. And it was really hard going in circles to get this thing to get 20 minutes of exercise, even though I think I did like 30 minutes before. But yeah, so I wondered why we couldn't get barbecue, but I guess it's coming in November. So
Yeah. I don't. So now I'm trying to debate if that means like I'm going to be pissy and not want to eat there because they made me wait until November, or if I'm going to be like,
yeah, dude, you got to...
I'm eating there.
Dude, you got to take a stand, man. You just got to be like, no, I'm not eating there.
This is everyone know I am the one protesting. They won't miss me. Not in the least. So ticketing is the other thing I think we need to bring up. And there's quite a bit to talk about ticketing. I think the first thing I'd say, props, yay, to UNO. Students are no longer brought in the back door like they're
that was weird. They were kind of herded in the, what is that? The layout of the arena. I have trouble doing northwest, southwest. Is that southeast?
Southeast.
Yeah. Okay. Southeast corner that they came in. Now I will tell you, sometimes I would exit that southeast staircase that they came in on to get to the
Right.
post-game celebration in the lobby faster than trying to wind my way through the concourse. I would go
Oh.
that direction.
Okay.
I would go down the stairs, go outside, come back in the arena for the celebration. Now, we figured out, obviously, if you're in the upper bowl, to just walk across the seats all the way to the corner.
Yeah, because everyone's left.
I say this now, they're like probably not going to let us do it anyway.
Please keep leaving your seats so that we can get through.
Yes, they're yeah. But yeah, so it's nice that they can come in the main entrance because it makes you feel like you're more a part of the experience coming in that way. So they've got a little area where they can scan their Mav card.
Which is the other new thing, is they don't have to stand in line and get tickets that they used to have to do. Now they can just scan their Mav card.
Okay.
So that's kind of a nice thing. I think that's a nice thing too. Encourage them. Don't make it difficult on them. I think a lot of students, I talked to a UNO student, and when we were talking, she had mentioned like it's not a forethought for a lot of students. It's 3 of my friends are walking out. Hey, where are you going? We're going to the Mav game. You want to go with? Yeah, perfect. So they so I think making it easier just facilitates that, like, grab all your friends, bring everyone from the dorm, and we talked about in the first episode, we talked about the environment and how we really want an atmosphere in Baxter.
Yeah, we want a good we want a fun environment.
And I think that's the key. Having the students there gets that energy, and
they're just fun when you look over there and you see a bunch of students standing and cheering and having a good time.
Face painted and
then the thing, whatever that thing's
awesome.
called, I can't think of the name, where they pull up the Unleash the Fury banner over the side. I think that's really cool.
That's cool. I love that thing.
No, that's awesome.
I remember getting when they broke that out. Was it last season or the season? I can't remember.
I can't remember if it was last.
I know it was the season before. I don't think it was last season.
I think it might have been right at the end of that season when they pulled that in. And you're like, well, that's awesome.
And I got video of that and tweeted that out. So if you can go back like 3 years on my Twitter account, you can find it. And that was awesome. I love that thing. That thing's great.
Oh yeah, Bill Pickett does a great job with the students in the student section.
And you've got the Red Army down there. So.
Yeah, the Red Army. And I believe I heard that the Red Army's working on new jerseys for the Red Army, but that might be top secret, but we're breaking it here. So, yeah, so it'll be interesting.
We leak classified information.
We're leaking classified information on the podcast.
I gotta do it to NSA again.
I know.
All right. So the other thing that I thought was interesting about tickets is someone that got tickets transferred to them digitally, right?
Yeah, so a couple that we know, they were not going to be able to come on Friday. So they asked us if we knew anybody who wanted the tickets for that night. So obviously they have to be transferred digitally unless you print the ticket out and like give it to the person. But these people don't know each other. So they got my neighbor Jill's email address. Jill got the email saying that the tickets were available and they had to click a button. It took them to Ticketmaster where they had to create a Ticketmaster account. And then Jill got the tickets and was able to add them to her Apple Wallet on the iPhone. But she was going with her husband, and she wanted her husband to have a copy of the tickets too. Well, she couldn't transfer them through Apple Wallet. So she just took a screenshot and texted them to him.
So she took a screenshot of the
Apple Wallet tickets, I believe.
Of the ticket in the wallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know if that will work or not, because there's some debate from some of the discussion in our Facebook group as to whether a screenshot the QR code that's on them would work.
Okay.
And so I told her, I said, I'd be interested if you guys would be willing to try, because we want to talk about it on the podcast. And for those who don't know, who are listening, UNO season tickets are not actually tickets this year. You got plastic card. You basically got like a plastic credit card with a QR code, and it also had a lanyard card. So if you want to, do the lanyard option on a little lanyard with a plastic holder, you can do that too. But you can also get on your Mav accounts and transfer the tickets to the Apple Wallet on your phone. So if you just want to show and scan your smartphone,
which is what I do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or you can print off tickets, or if that's not good enough for you, you can go to the ticket office and they'll print the kind of card stock rectangular tickets for you.
Right.
But you and I like technology, so we go with that. So anyway,
I geek out on that.
Back to Jill. Jill and her husband went Friday night, and she had Arlen show the screenshot of the Apple Wallet from her phone, and it scanned just fine.
And my concern when you had mentioned that going in was whether or not it would work with the brightness of the screen. Because a lot of times with digital tickets, whether it's a screenshot or not, just a lot of the issues with digital tickets is...
Sure.
If you're having problems, here's your tip, is that if you turn the brightness up on your screen, a lot of times that increases the contrast enough that the reader can read the difference between the black and the white on the QR code. And so...
And I always wondered...
I wasn't sure if that would be an issue or not.
And I always wonder, too, because you hear things about potential compression when you're sending photos or whatnot via text. So I didn't know if that would be a problem either. Obviously a QR code's a pretty blocky type of thing, so that didn't seem to be an issue. But it was interesting because, I guess if, you knew somebody was coming to a game and you had the tickets in your Apple Wallet, you could just take a screenshot of that and text it to them rather than...
It's a last minute change type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that stood out to me was obviously being a techie. I had, even for the Manitoba game, I had downloaded the ticket to my phone because I wanted to see how it went so that we could talk about it at some point in time on the podcast. But I'm also forgetful, and I would forget the little plastic card thing that they gave me. And so... Especially
since there's one for each seat.
Yeah.
With a different QR code. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went on and downloaded... Well, I'll tell you. The first thing I did is I went into Ticketmaster because I'm like, well, Ticketmaster is running this. So I'll just go into the Ticketmaster app because I already have the Ticketmaster app for everything
Right. You're thinking that would be really handy. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'll just log in with our Maverick account information, and then that will give me all my tickets inside of the Ticketmaster app. No, that's
even though UNO uses...
Our convenience fee doesn't cover that part of it.
Right. Even though UNO uses Ticketmaster as the back end of their system, our Mav account does not work with regular Ticketmaster. So you would have to create a separate... And then you probably have to do my neighbor had. You'd probably have to transfer all the tickets to yourself.
You literally have to transfer each individual ticket.
Oh yeah,
from yourself to your other Ticketmaster account to be able to do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that they'll eventually work out.
I hope
in the future, but
I use the app for other events and stuff. And it is fairly convenient just to be able to open up the app and tap the add to wallet, and then I'm done and set and golden. So to have it not work like that was a little bit frustrating. Mostly just from someone who's used it in that way before. I just want to keep using it, how I was conditioned to do it. So the other thing is then this week I download the Notre Dame tickets.
Right.
And I'm looking at them going, the QR code
is exactly the
same.
Which makes...
This can't possibly work, right? I'm like, there has to be something that I don't see, some intricacy inside the QR code that's going to say
some little tiny watermark in that digital QR code that's different.
Something that would tell me that this is this game or anything. Because it was obvious because I downloaded my daughter's ticket just in case I knew her and I were going to be together. And I'm like, if for some reason I forget to get the card, the physical plastic card for her, I want to make sure that I have it on my phone. So I knew that seat by seat it's different, right?
Yes.
But the same seat for every game is exactly the same. So I thought, okay, this can't possibly work. So I'm going to do the oops, I'm stupid thing, right?
And I'm going to accidentally pull
try
up
to get in with the Manitoba ticket.
So you accidentally pull up the Manitoba ticket just to see
if it'll work.
Yeah.
And it gets me in on Friday. And I'm thinking, okay, fluke. It got me in. The guy just didn't know how to use his little scanner thing.
Right.
I'll try it Saturday. Sure enough, it gets me in again on Saturday.
I mean, on the one hand, it's surprising. On the other hand, it's not, since the credit card deals that all of us have, you use that same card the whole season for the seat. So you see what I'm saying? It's like you're using the same QR code on your physical card. So it kind of makes sense that your digital card would use that. But you and I look at that and you're like, well, if you transfer your tickets to somebody else, then conceivably they could, come to a game before you if they wanted to be, nefarious and evil about it. And they could use that ticket that you had sent them.
Or if you want to be, hopefully, I don't think any of our listeners are like this, but
no, not at all.
In theory, then, unless what they do which I hope they do, and I don't have a way to test this yet. But if someone does test this and can let us know, like, we'd love to know if this is the way that they're doing it. I hope this is the way that they're doing it. But I don't know, you could, in theory, do it where if I transfer my ticket to you, it redraws the QR code. So what you get is not my QR code, and it cancels my QR code just for that game.
Right. See,
that
that
is the
would
only
be
way I can think
ideal.
of that they do this without having a problem. Because otherwise,
Right.
even if I transfer my QR code to you and it keeps that QR code number the same,
Yeah.
I could get $20 from you for my ticket, and then just beat you to the game and get in ahead of you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. My neighbor Jill could get there before, my friends John and Jackie, who transferred the ticket to her last Friday, and she could just get there early and, take the, screenshot or whatever on her phone and let them,
And
what
the
you,
melee that would ensue with,
what you
no,
should-
this is really my ticket. No, they're really inside. And
what you should do, Jason, is you should compare the QR code in Apple Wallet for each seat with the QR code on the physical credit card deal.
It's the
see
same.
if it's, so it's the
Yep.
same. Okay.
So the only thing I don't know, the one thing we have to figure out at some point, or if someone's done this, because if I transfer the tickets to someone, I'm rarely transferring it to someone I know where I can sit and compare it. But that's what we got to figure out is when I transfer the tickets to someone else, do they get a QR code that is in some way different from the QR code that I have?
Oh yeah, and see, we wouldn't know from my neighbor because we didn't have we don't know what the actual.
You don't know
card looked like.
you don't know both parties. You don't know the person who originally had the tickets, and you know the person that. The
See,
tickets
that's
are
interesting.
transferred to.
Maybe if you go through the process where you enter their contact information and their email, maybe. But I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if it gives anything unique, not, or if it just kind of releases that ticket to them.
Well, I'm hoping that they do it that way, or at least that they've thought this through enough to think about how they're going to handle this, and if they want to tweet us afterwards or something and let us know.
Yeah,
we would really like to know if there's some security there, because it is a concern for us as fans. Like, I'm slightly hesitant to transfer my tickets to someone else because that potential exists.
Well, you could, yeah. I mean, in the case of Bridget, she just usually, goes down and scans them in at the gate, but you'd like to be able to transfer it because then it, avoids somebody arriving, 5 minutes into the first and you got to run down there and scan the card and let them in. And certainly I don't, want to give somebody one of my cards. So yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So it'll be very interesting. But this was not a problem with paper tickets. So I'm just back in the, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, technology has its advantages because it is nice that if I do forget for those of you that are out there, I mean, if you have, most people have smartphones and you forget your little plastic.
You can log into your MyMav account
and log in on your phone, and you can, from your browser, you can add it to your wallet. It works on Google. I know that too. So if you're using an Android phone, you can put it in your Google Wallet that way too. And if not, if you don't use Wallet or you don't want to use Wallet, I mean, you can pull up the physical ticket on Safari, and we know that you can take a screenshot of that and then just pull up the screenshot in your Photos app and then get in with that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, the convenience of that, if you know your is it MyMav account that we?
Well, it redirects you to a Ticketmaster site, but it is. Your
it
MyMav
is, yeah.
login.
It's your If you know that and you're there and you're like, oh man, I forgot my tickets. It's perfect in that regard.
Yeah. But the downside is hopefully they've thought these things through and hopefully they respond to us so that at least we can come and say, hey, it really is okay for you to transfer. You don't have to worry about someone.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that happened too often, but obviously in our Facebook group, a lot of people who don't know each other are transferring tickets. So yeah.
What else? Anything else non-hockey related that we want to?
I don't know.
Dump on people. I can't think of anything else.
No.
I think it's time to move on to
the Arizona State
next series
preview.
Here. Yeah. So what are you thinking? Arizona State's coming up. We're going out to Arizona.
Yeah, we're playing in that rink that is basically like a, community skating rink type. They really need a new arena out there. So I hope somebody, ponies up the money, or they are able to get into a deal with somebody and get into an arena.
I know the Knights are supporting them pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So I expect the money will be there for them.
I hope so. They need it. I mean, yeah, Bridget and I had considered going to that series, but we were a little scared off by the scarcity of seat. I'm sure we could have made it work, but this is a team that Arizona State team being an upstart program, kind of like UNO was 20 years ago, it'll be interesting to see how they do. They played Ohio State, which currently is the number one team in the nation, a couple weeks ago.
Right.
They played them tight. They played them very close.
They're definitely a better team.
They definitely
than
are.
We've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. The week before that, they played Alaska Fairbanks, and I can't remember if they swept Fairbanks or split with Fairbanks.
No, they were losing at one point. I remember when I looked.
Yeah. See if you can pull up their schedule. But they're a team that's going to be better this season. They're not, the caliber of Notre Dame, but they're a team that's going to be better.
Yeah, so a 3-0 win. Oh, they were losing to So 3-0 win against Alaska, and then a 5-0 win against Alaska, and they lost 3-2 to Ohio State. So at the time, number one team, they were up at one point. Yeah, they were even at one point. So they were even.
Right.
They got a power play goal in the first minute of the second period to even the score there.
Sure, and they play.
And quite honestly, that game was lost in the power play for them.
Yeah,
I mean, the game-winning goal came power play.
Did
they need a better penalty.
Did they
kill.
play Huntsville this week?
They played Huntsville, 2-1 and 5-1.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I don't know. You can't gauge a whole lot off of Huntsville.
You really can't. You really can't gauge a whole lot off of that team, but they're going to be an interesting matchup this week.
It's not a rollover. I mean, you can't go in saying it's a guarantee win at least.
No, and if UNO had played strong this weekend, you might be saying that you might be using the S word, thinking they could go in and sweep down in the desert. But I'm not.
I would be more worried about even if you split against Notre Dame, I'd be worried a little bit about this, like arrogance going in, thinking.
Oh, kind of like the letdown. You're overlooking Arizona State.
Yeah, you get that surprise upset kind of thing.
Well, I'm hoping the team
happened. I mean,
oh yeah, exactly.
Last year Notre Dame lost to Huntsville. So
I know, right? There. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before they kind of went on they had a 2-month streak where they played. Yeah, so you just don't.
We went in there and beat.
Yeah,
them, so,
I know.
I mean, there's always those like,
that,
we should beat them, no problem. Yeah, you just lost 5-2.
Yeah, so it'll be a very interesting matchup, and I don't have a good read after this weekend. I'm kind of gun shy to be completely optimistic, but I'll be conservative and I'll go with a split on the weekend.
Okay, so you're gonna go split.
Yeah. I
think it's a telling series. I think that this will be. It's somewhat of a gut check for UNO.
I agree.
If we go in and we get swept out, that's not a good sign for us.
Well,
forward.
Like we talked about, in the next 4 series, we play them twice, and if we struggle against Arizona State, it could be rough seas ahead for this team.
Right. I would not be surprised if you were correct, and there's a split. I'm gonna say that I think this will be a good series for us. I think we right the ship. I think we sweep them. I think we go in there and we play with some energy and some prove ourselves kind of attitude. I think we get I'm gonna hope and anticipate that we get a big win on Friday. Just coming out of the gate and going full bore, that the guys are a little bit angry about how they performed against Notre Dame, and they come out with a chip on their shoulder.
Exactly, and the thing about it too is that Arizona State's not a team that they have to play a perfect 60 minutes against.
You've got some room to make some errors and still come out on top. And then I think if we get a big win on Friday, I think Saturday it'll typically
I think that could carry us
down
over
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the power play for UNO will end up being the difference maker on Saturday, and that's where I think we can get the sweep out. I may be wrong. But that's just kind of the way I see it going.
That's that makes sense to me. I'm going with a split just to be, in case there is still kind of a bad hangover after this.
Statistically
Notre Dame
speaking,
series.
that's the way to go. So.
Yeah,
on like every series.
I've been optimistic the past couple of weeks, so I'm going to be.
I know there's a change of roles. This is a little weird, man. I don't know if I can handle this too much on this podcast. You're gonna have to go back to being an optimist.
Yeah, you were not that optimistic going into Notre Dame, so I've learned. I predicted a split, so I completely learned my lesson on that. So. But it'll be interesting to see who's in next.
Twice I said DU was going to be 4th in the conference, and those were the 2 years they won national titles.
Yeah.
So, just going on record saying I don't have the best of luck at these types of things.
Yeah, and this time of year, it's especially hard to know. So
Apparently I'm a pessimist. So
no, you're just a realist. It's all right.
Realist, I like that. That sounds better.
Yeah, you're an analytical realist. That's what we like on here.
I know. So why am I picking them to sweep? What the heck's wrong with me? Apparently this Canadian whiskey's pretty good, eh?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, the clearly Canadians keeping me realistic this week.
Yeah. Canadian drinks do some weird stuff to us.
They absolutely do. Well, I think that's all we got for our listeners today. And
I think so. I don't have anything else.
No, absolutely. I think it'll be an exciting week at Arizona State. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Mavpuck. We'd love to hear your questions for this podcast. We'd love to take some questions. We'd love to address some of the thoughts and feelings and concerns that you have as far as the world of Maverick hockey goes. Also, if you want to listen to this podcast, listen to us on SoundCloud, listen to us on Apple Podcasts, and listen to us on Google Podcasts. And if that's not good enough for you, check out our YouTube channel. I like it. Jason made great animation for it. There's not video of us yet, but there may be someday.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. It should be fun. So in that, enjoy the week. Don't be down about this Notre Dame series, and you stay classy, Omaha.